Yo, what's up everybody? It's me, WD Michael, and in today's YouTube video, I'm gonna go over the Rillaboom 7-star Tera Raid battle event. Now, last week I did release a video talking about some raid builds to help prepare you for the opening weekend of the Rillaboom raids, and to be honest, we quickly found out that this raid was going to be extremely difficult, and I think that I can fairly say that this is probably the hardest 7-star raid battle event that they have released to date. It was extremely difficult. I definitely failed more than I ended up beating this Pokemon, and found out that a good chunk of the original builds we built in that first video just didn't really work out that well. And that's totally fine because we do have a second weekend to do that coming up here tomorrow. And so what I want to do today is I want to go over some of the raid builds that actually did work and some new ones that popped up from some of the viewers that came in that actually kind of blew me away. So we'll go ahead and talk about some of those raid builds and get you prepared for your second weekend of the Rillaboom 7-star Tera Raid battle event. Let's get into it. All right, so as always, if we want to talk about the actual raid, we need to understand the Pokemon that we are going to be battling. And now that we have had our opening weekend, we actually have the full details on the raid Pokemon that we are going to be battling instead of kind of going, oh, well, maybe it's got this. Now we know exactly what it's got, and we can make sure to plan accordingly. So with the Rillaboom, it does know Grassy Surge. We all knew that was going to happen. It drops out that grassy terrain. It's got a Jolly Nature, Normal Tera. But with some of the things that we were kind of on the fence or didn't really know about, one of the really cool things that I think that they did with this one is giving it Boom Burst. And they've kind of been doing that with some of the Pokemon in the past, where if everybody's really just expecting this Pokemon to be super just attack heavy, they've been really good about just throwing on like a special attack, or the exact opposite. If it's a heavy special attack, they'll throw on an attack move. They've been doing that, especially like Typhlosion, they gave it Earthquake. They definitely been trying to make them a little bit more difficult, and this definitely made the Rillaboom a lot more difficult because everybody's prepared for a really heavy attacking Pokemon. And if you're not paying attention, you bring a Pokemon with little special defense, these Boom Bursts will catch you, man. They do a lot of damage, and it will definitely snag you. And the big reason is because Rillaboom knows Growth. Literally on turn 1, as the raid starts, it will use Growth, which boosts its attack and special attack, which is a huge problem if you're doing this raid and you're not prepared for it, because like I said, those Boom Bursts and even the other attacks that come out are going to do a lot of damage. So definitely something we want to keep in mind. Another big thing with Growth that was kind of not everybody knew right off the bat, but if you bring a Pokemon with Sunny Day, Growth is actually boosted in sunny weather. So please do not bring Koraidon. As much as Koraidon seems like a decent fit for this raid, just due to the way that Growth works with Rillaboom, Koraidon and almost instantly is just a bad Pokemon to bring because of that. You're going to be boosting every one of the Growths because this Rillaboom is going to Growth multiple times in the raid, and it ends up being at a point where it ends up sweeping you too fast because of all the boosts. So Koraidon, it's out. I would really not bring it, or any other sunny day using Pokemon for that matter. Now with that, you're also going to get a lot of signatures. Like Boom Burst was kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's a signature move because it's a drummer Pokemon, but they also did give it Drum Beating. So you got a really heavy grass attack that you have to worry about. And the other big one that I was really like, I was expecting this to be there, was Acrobatics. Acrobatics covers its weakness, and is one of the few flying moves that it does get. So yeah, we're kind of expecting that one. Low Kick is definitely a problem. It hurt a lot in a lot of the Pokemon, especially if you're a big bulky Pokemon. It'll definitely do some damage. So just make sure you're keeping your eye on that one. Bulk Up gives this Pokemon a little bit more bulk as far as boosting its defense. So make sure you're watching that. It will boost up its defense from time to time, as well as the Body Slams. The Body Slams was one of those ones where we ended up getting paralyzed a few times, so it was a little bit annoying, but not anything that was super like I couldn't deal with. Overall, this was an insanely hard Pokemon to battle. I can tell you that I definitely failed this a lot more than we ended up completing it. It was just because we were trying to test things out and figure out what was actually going to work, because in the end of it, it ended up knocking out a bunch of the Pokemon that we did think were going to be useful. So yeah, definitely keep your eye on that one. Now, some of the Pokemon that did actually end up working. Iron Hands was a fantastic Pokemon in this raid. Absolutely loved him. Worked great. Gave us that really big damage we need. He's bulky, so it ended up working out really well. One of the biggest surprises to me that actually popped into one of my streams was the Froslass. It was super cool. I honestly had joined and I was like, wait, what is this? It was one of the coolest Pokemon I've seen, to be honest, when it joined the raid. It ends up resisting a lot of the moves and attacks that the Rillaboom does, being that it's a ghost typing. You don't have to worry about Boom Burst or Body Slam. You don't have to worry about its fighting moves. You don't have to worry about its grass or flying moves because it's an ice typing. Like, Froslass was a key that fit perfectly. It was super cool. And then on top of it, when you give Froslass grassy seeds, you boost its defense by +2. It was a really cool tech. So whoever brought that, props to you. That was an awesome Pokemon, and I definitely that one caught my eye. So that was good. Goodra worked really, really well. It's got a lot of the moves that you want, and it doesn't take a ton of damage. It is obviously it's gonna get hit. You're gonna notice it, but it ends up working all right. Definitely, I ended up beating it with the Goodra a couple times, so I can definitely say the Goodra will end up working. It's probably not the easiest one, but it'll do. Corviknight's another fantastic one. Did really, really well in this raid. Nothing really hit it super effectively. It was able to keep its kind of bulkiness and also do the damage that it wants to with the body press, stuff like that. Corviknight was definitely a good one. A nice damage dealing Pokemon. And then for the final one, I really think that Zamazenta did really, really well in these raids. It was able to withstand a lot of the damage, provide super effective damage to the boss, as well as help boost a lot of your own Pokemon in the raid. So yeah, Zamazenta was really cool. So I think out of the original Pokemon builds, we only have 2 new ones. We'll go through all 5 of them, but the 2 new ones are going to be the Froslass and the Zamazenta. The 3 old ones are the Iron Hands, Goodra, and Corviknight. So we ended up losing, I think Enamorus was just it ended up not working even remotely close. And I can't remember the other one. I knew Lucario ended up not working out super well as either. Some people said it was a little bit rough. So yeah, there's definitely a couple Pokemon that it is not the best. So let's go over these ones. We'll check out the builds and get you prepped for week 2. All right, so with our first of 5 builds in the Rillaboom raids, Iron Hands was one of our original Pokemon that we ended up bringing. Obviously, Iron Hands is great. Has some really, really high damage fighting type moves that will definitely help you out. And the biggest part about this is it gets some resistance to the flying type moves from the Rillaboom, being that it's electric typing. So Iron Hands, great Pokemon. I would highly suggest bringing it, especially if your raid group is lacking in the damage side. It's definitely a heavy damage dealer and can do a lot in this raid. So yeah, I would highly suggest this one. And you can also see in the bottom there some of the Pokemon that I probably wouldn't bring anymore. Enamorus was one of them. It seemed really cool on paper in the beginning, but it ended up getting just destroyed. The other one was Zapdos. Zapdos, another one where it seemed pretty good on paper, but it just was too squishy, and with that it ended up getting just obliterated. You really can't afford to bring a squishy Pokemon into this raid. They all have to have some sort of chunky bulkness to them, or else this guy is just gonna absolutely ruin you. So one of the big things I'd keep in mind. But yeah, just really good belly drum, iron defense, close combat, drain punch. Just ended up being pretty much everything you needed. If you really wanted to, you could definitely go electric terrain to get rid of the grassy terrain. Swords dance is always great as well, and focus energy. So I mean, there's definitely ways you can build this to suit your raid build or your raid team, where this guy will end up punching out a ton of damage and supporting you where it needs to. So yeah, great one. We'll move on to the next one, which will be their first of the new raid builds, and that's going to be Froslass. All right, so Froslass was definitely one of those ones where I was not expecting it. It didn't pop up in my builders. I didn't even think about it. But when I saw it doing work, I was instantly shocked and baffled by how good it did. And realizing just like all the different things you can do to really make this just a really optimal support Pokemon, because that's what this is. Definitely a support Pokemon, and one that will definitely be needed in these raid builds. This guy does way too much damage. Rillaboom will boost itself up with growth, and you really need to find a way to drop some of that damage incoming. And Froslass definitely helps with that. So Froslass, first off, has Snow Cloak. So if you can get out, change the weather to snow, you actually end up getting a little bit of evasiveness from that. So that's a really nice just bonus. Get those grassy seeds up, because the moment you come out of the battlefield, you're going to get +2 defense because of Rillaboom's grassy surge. Another great way just to start off the battle on a nice head start. Some of the things you can use to help your team: Aurora Veil, always great. It's going to drop the damage from both the attack and special attacks from Rillaboom, which you're going to be getting both of. So we can kind of group that into one kind of a shield. So that'll be great. Helping Hand is your way to help your damage dealing Pokemon actually do the damage they need to. Fantastic move for this one, because Froslass doesn't really have anything that's going to be super effective into the Rillaboom, so trying to attack it really isn't going to do your raid group any good. So the more you can boost other Pokemon that are already meant to be doing damage, the better. And the final one is Chilling Water. So Rillaboom will pop his shield really quick, and whenever he pops his shield or he's in his Terra form, you can't drop his stats by things that don't do damage. So Charm isn't going to work. Screech, not going to work. They won't break through that shield. So you need to find ways where you can damage the Pokemon to drop its stats. And that's where Chilling Water comes into play. It does some damage to the raid boss, which means that the attack drop will go through. So definitely one that I really think that you're going to want to have, because he is going to be growthing himself. He's going to be boosting his attack, and you definitely don't want to have your whole raid group get just obliterated. So really, really solid. The other one is Taunt. If you want to taunt him and make sure that those growths don't come out, you can always do that as well. But yeah, I really think that just the plain core of Chilling Water, Helping Hand, Aurora Veil, and Snowscape is probably one of the better support builds for this raid in particular, because like I said before, with being a ghost type, you lose any damage from Rillaboom's normal type attacks. Don't even have to worry about them. You've also, with the ice typing, the flying type move isn't going to do a whole lot, and neither is the grass type move. So you have just this Pokemon that fits perfectly as a support Pokemon. So I would highly suggest Froslass. Really, really great Pokemon. But the next one we're going to hop into is going to be Goodra. And we're back with our big chunky Goodra. Goodra did really well during this raid. It was a nice support Pokemon that was also able to do some damage. And was bulky enough to where it didn't take a bunch of damage and get knocked out within the first couple of turns. So definitely think Goodra is still a nice shoe-in for this raid and a good option for you if you want kind of like an all-arounder type of Pokemon. Life Dew, amazing in a raid group. It doesn't burn any of your cheers and it heals your Pokemon. Charm is one of those ones where you have to pay attention to how you're using it, because if you start charming, you can't charm him when the actual shield is up, but you can definitely charm turn 1 to make sure you start dropping its attack before he does pop up a shield. I found that to be really, really useful. And then you bust out some acid armor and body presses, and you're starting to do a chunk of damage to the Rillaboom as well. So all in all, I think the Goodra was it was a good one. It wasn't, I would have to say, I don't think it was the best, just due to the damage output. It wasn't doing a ton, but everything else, it did really great, and it was a nice support / damage builder. So highly suggest that one. But the next one we're going to do is going to be our second new build, and that is going to be Zamazenta. Let's get into it. All right, and here we are with the warrior Pokemon. Zamazenta makes his debut as one of our first raid builds in this one, as he does pretty solid against Rillaboom. He's got a really nice defensive stat, a nice HP, so you boost it again with your EVs. And you've got this nice bulky kind of legendary Pokemon, because obviously anytime you get a legendary Pokemon, they have a massive stat pool. So he's got a lot of stats. And with that, he's got some really nice damaging moves that can help you out, as well as boost up your team. So yeah, Zamazenta seems like a really, really good option. Body Press, Iron Defense is a great combo for a normal type Pokemon, for you to put out some damage and also mitigate a lot of the damage incoming to you. Helping Hand and Howl are just great ways where if you feel like you've got another Pokemon doing a lot of damage, like an Iron Hands, you're like, hey, I just want to help hand this guy, he's gonna absolutely crush it. Do that. It's nice. Gives you some options of being a support Pokemon, as well as a little bit of damage dealing, kind of like the Goodra, an all-arounder type of Pokemon. Howl will also boost up all of your attack on your team. So if you're running with a really heavy attack group, Zamazenta is a really good Pokemon to bring, just due to the fact that you can Howl and you can kind of get a free attack boost on all your Pokemon. So yeah, just really, really cool. I definitely like Zamazenta. I didn't personally use it, but a couple of people in my raid ended up using it, and it worked really, really well. Now, another way that I have seen about building this Pokemon is because Zamazenta is so heavily boosted on the defensive side, and you can, obviously with the Iron Defense, Body Press, you can do that. The other side of that is how can Zamazenta utilize itself to drop the special attack to help out your team. And with that, it does get access to Snarl, so you can definitely Snarl so the Boom Bursts don't hurt your team, and also use Light Screen. So you can basically have a really nice bulky Pokemon with its defensive stats that also is helping with kind of curbing some of that Boom Burst damage. So yeah, definitely a really there's some cool ways of building Zamazenta that'll fit your raid group. Either if you need to kind of have some of that special attack drop, or if you want to go really supportive with your attacking Pokemon, Zamazenta's got you covered. So yeah, no, definitely a really solid one. I like that one a lot. But I think for our final Pokemon here, we will have Corviknight on deck for the last raid build of this video. All right, and here we are with the Corviknight, our final build for this raid. Corviknight did fantastic during the raids this last weekend. Nice bulky Pokemon, got that flying typing. It ended up just being a Pokemon that just didn't take a lot of damage, but was able to dish out plenty of it. Yeah, definitely highly suggest bringing Corviknight if you're looking for a more damage dealing Pokemon like Iron Hands. I would put them both kind of in the same category. Cool thing about Corviknight though is he does get some supportive moves, so you definitely can be a supportive Corviknight and not really worry about that, especially if you have the defense or the damage on your team. So with mirror armor, you're not going to be worrying about having your stats drop for any reason. The Rillaboom doesn't really do anything anyways, so that's not a problem. But really the big things you want to look out for is Screech. Screech is nice because it'll drop the defense, which again, you got to make sure you do it after or before he pops his shield, because if you try to do it when his shield's up, it's not going to work. The body press, iron defense, fantastic moves that'll help you just boost and do some damage. And then reflect, just make sure, you know, if you've got a light screen user on your team, you can reflect, whatnot, but it gives you some options of helping your team and some of your other attacking slots that may not get utilized, just because, like you said, you don't really have to use a lot when you have body press and iron defense. Like, you've got the two, now we got to start figuring out what the other two are, and with that you've got options. I mean, you've got Roost, you've got Taunt, you've got Bulk Up, you've got Screech, you've got Reflect. I mean, you can definitely build this Corviknight to what fits your raid build or raid group the best. Yeah, man, these all ended up working out really, really well, and I hope that this will help you out on your journey to defeating Rillaboom. Yo, thank you so much for coming out to my raid build video as we discussed kind of the updates on the Rillaboom raids, because like I said before, man, this one was hard. This was not an easy raid, and it was one of those ones where I was like, man, I really got to come back to this one and give some updated builds, because man, I struggled bad, and it was really nice to see a lot of people coming to the stream share some of the stuff that they've been seeing work for them, and just kind of overall work with it as the community in defeating this Rillaboom raid, because they were really, really hard. So it definitely needed some help, and hopefully this raid video will actually give you some help so you can defeat it on this second weekend, or just help your friends beat it on the second weekend. So again, thank you all so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to catch me live, hop on over to twitch.tv/WDMichael, and I'll be live doing Rillaboom raids or playing VGC this week. So make sure you hop on by, come by and give me a follow. And if you haven't already, hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell on the YouTube so you can get notified when I drop more videos just like this one, because I will be making sure to drop any other raid build videos or guides for raids, VGC, all that kind of stuff on my YouTube channel. Now that my kids are back in school, content is going to be ramping up. So we got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm really excited about it. Again, thank you all so much for coming out to the video. I hope you have a fantastic day out in Paldea, trainers. Peace!